Hitting go live now.
Okay.
Like I told you, I'm hitting go live, so stop being obstinate. I'm telling you,
All I
people are gonna
said,
see you.
all I said was, "Are you my mummy?" Okay, don't judge me.
Jeez. Are you my mommy? Yeah, that was creepy. I'm telling you. Yeah, we're Doctor Who in it today, which will be interesting because I know almost nothing about Doctor Who. So, hi guys, welcome back. How you doing? Hope
Hi,
everybody's well.
Stuart.
Hi Sam, how you doing?
Yeah, did some real life stuff today, as I was obliged to by those asking. The old
Nice.
right. Do the thing you have to do. But yes, getting close on a thing, which is exciting.
Mhm. Very
Yeah,
good.
many
Very good.
small things.
Welcome back to all of you. I know Doctor
Yes.
Who's not really our thing, but
Uh,
it
ne-
is though. Trekyards universe and all.
I mean, neither Star Wars, neither Stargate, neither Battlestar, but it's in the pantheon. I mean, it outbeats all of them in terms of length of a show, except Star Trek. So it is more sci-fi than any of them. How many shows go before that? Lost in
Hmm.
Space, is that before it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, one of the very first sci-fi anything's really.
And it's British.
Yeah, and quite often Scottish. There's so many
Ah,
Scottish doctors. Some with real accents, some without, but lots and lots of Scottish doctors. It's almost shocking how many actually.
interesting.
Because Sylvester McCoy is also Scottish, but he hasn't got an accent.
Hmm.
So 7, 10, 13, and the new one, 15.
Well, I just hope I don't get lambasted for not knowing everything. Just saying. Um, it'll be
I'm sure.
interesting. It'll be a fun discussion, I'm sure.
I'm sure you know some.
I do. I did. I knew enough to do a top 5 list.
Yes, the joke is, guys, that he's doing top 5, and I'm doing between top 15 and top 20. Because I actually did manage to list 20 of them and find a list, so. Well,
Wow.
obviously, the bottom 5 are somewhat the silly ones, of course, because I gave you all of the doctors. I was very specific with that is anyone you could pick, and any variant of every you could pick on purpose. Right? That was on
Yeah.
purpose. So you kind of
Yeah.
play if you had seen any random assortment of extra. Because there's all but one were actually canon,
Hmm.
which shows you how varied you can be. Because I did put in the quantifier, which first Doctor, because Hartnell played differently to Heimdall to Bradley. So they are the same, they are the first Doctor, but they're all different. And you're welcome to pick them differently because they're different.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
which is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting for me for sure. See how it plays out here, though. Um, People are already throwing in their favorites in the chat, which is awesome.
I will start a poll, then I will go share.
All right. So, 15 people, nine likes. What is going on? Hit the like button, guys. I know this isn't really our jam, so a lot of people might see it and go, "What?" and might
Well,
not show up. That's
Doctor Who's
fine.
pretty damn famous.
It is.
I mean,
It absolutely
I
is.
mean, who here is older than 60 in the chat? Like, it probably predates
Probably a few people might be.
almost everyone here, I'm guessing. All right, let's have a look.
Yeah. So he'll have a poll in a second you guys can vote on. But hit the like button in the meantime. You know you want to. Also, don't forget to consider joining the channel. Be part of our Trekyards fleet. It's more Star Trek, but at the end of each of our edited content videos, you will be there if you're one of the channel members or one of our Patreons, which you can do over on Patreon/Trekyards. Same ranks, privileges, perks, all that apply over there, and you get to hang out on our Discord as well. So consider hitting that join button and looking at your options. Most important thing you can do, honestly, is subscribe to the channel if you're not, and like the video. Maybe share it around as well. Also, be sure to click that notification bell icon to all so you don't miss any content, either live or edited, that we do, because we do a lot of it. And we want to see you guys join us for these, because your voice matters here here on Trekyards. Or Fleet Yard. Well, this is Trekyards Universe, formerly known as Fleet Yards now, I guess, for this one. The poll is up. Do you have one favorite doctor or more than one? So the options are yes, one single doctor is best. I have 2 or 3 favorite doctors, and I like lots. Love the doctors. Good choice. Good choice.
I'm gonna share on the interwebs and hope people will join us. And yes, the NX01 Elcar's a bit of a cheeky little nod to yes, you know, it's the closest to our era. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, so he's gonna go share. So guys, hit that like button, do the things, you know the routine. Don't forget to check out the links down below to the Teespring and TeePublic store. Grab yourself some Trekyards merch. We'd really appreciate that. And also be part of the conversation. We want to hear you guys, from you guys about your favorite Doctor Who's and whatnot. So please super chat in and let us know. We do read all the super chats on the air, so it's a great way to get your voice recognized and get it out there. So you can be part of the conversation and kind of steer our conversation by suggesting topics and things for us to discuss. So you have the power, which is more He-Man. I have the power. Anyway.
Could you do a top 10 He-Man characters? Is there 10 of relevance that you could notice? Or you could say...
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters.
Isn't there just like one main one, 3 sides, and then lots of who cares characters? Or are they like a proper ensemble? Over the
It's
years,
a proper ensemble. It's a proper ensemble. And then lots of side characters as well, which make recurring appearances. So... Yeah.
Because there's He-Man, there's his dog, and there's the lady that he likes.
It's not a dog.
Oh, looks like a dog. Oh, a tiger.
It's a cat, yeah.
Oh. That's my knowledge of He-Man.
Tiger. Yeah.
Because I know I can't take anything from the movie as serious, because it's not He-Man. It's a thing called He-Man, but not He-Man.
Oh, that's not even a... No.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like He-Man, Teela, Cringer, Man-at-Arms.
Man-at-Arms, I've heard
King. Yeah. And you got the bad guys, like, yeah.
Skeletor.
Anyway,
I knew Skeletor. Sorry, I'm wrong. I knew Skeletor.
Yeah, Skeletor and Evil Lyn and Beastman and Merman.
Evil Lyn, or Evelyn?
Well, it's Evelyn,
okay,
but it's spelled Evil Lyn. So her name is Evil Lyn.
So it's a pun while also being a name.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of great, actually.
Nice.
But we're not here to talk about the He-Mans today.
I've said my entire piece on it. I could do nothing more.
That's how I feel with going into this live, just for the record.
But you at least watched episodes.
I have, yes.
I watched no episodes, so that's not this.
But I watched them long ago, and it was like one time only. So
well, that's what I'm saying. Give me your history of Doctor Who, and I'll give you my history on Doctor Who. Give me the 4-1.
I started watching a few years ago with Matt Smith. Then I watched.
Wait, he was in your house?
Stuff.
Did you watch Tennant stuff with Matt Smith, or did you watch Matt Smith stuff with Matt Smith, or Capaldi's stuff with Matt Smith?
What are you talking about?
We said with Matt Smith, so he was with you on the sofa watching it.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, which did you watch with him? Did you watch his era?
I watched the Matt Smith era, then the Eccleston, then Capaldi. Then I've seen, like, over the years, I've seen like bits and pieces here and there of like the first Doctor for sure. As much as Tom Baker's talked about, I've seen him in the outfit. I've never seen one bit of anything with him in it as Doctor Who for some reason. So yeah, I started kind of with Matt Smith, and like I said, then checked out the Eccleston stuff. I think Eccleston came before Matt Smith.
Yes,
he
was number
true?
9. He was 2 before.
Okay. Perfect. And David Tennant. Of course, I'm aware of David Tennant, but because he's everybody's favorite Doctor Who, I have not watched any of his stuff.
And just because people are going to complain, he's not everyone's favorite Doctor Who. He's everyone's favorite Doctor. The show is called Doctor Who. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, so I've seen maybe a little bit of David Tennant stuff, but
sorry to clarify, his character's name is not Doctor Who; it's the Doctor. So he's not everyone's favorite Doctor Who, favorite Doctor. Just because that's like the most common. Don't be saying that; I'll just piss fans off because.
Well, he's my favorite Doctor Who anyway.
There's no
I'm
character
going to
called Doctor
continue
Who.
to say.
There's no character called Doctor Who.
I'm aware.
Okay.
I'm aware, but I was just talking, so.
Okay. Just trying to help, so you know going forward. As
Sure.
you watch, I'm sure.
So I got like 5.
The specials. Are you excited about Tennant's return and the specials, and then Nuchi Gatwa? Is that how you say his name? Are you excited for the next batch, or is it because you didn't watch Jodie's? You're not interested in particularly the next batch.
Yeah, I don't honestly care about any of them now. So, everybody's all off on a fucking huff about Stephen Moffat. Ruined Doctor Who is writing with shit. Those are the ones I liked, so I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, I think most people like his writing. He got convoluted though.
That's not what I've heard.
Well, I think it's commonly he has some of the best stories and some of the worst stories, but he also did it for longer. So, like, and almost all the best stories from the first 2 eras is his stories. So clearly he's one of the best writers. He just had some real stinkers, but I mean, he also had, you know, the Angels and such are all his. So there are lots of his best.
Yeah.
And I met him once in person.
Some...
Bumped into him at a convention, which was great.
Cool.
Yes. My history of Doctor Who, it goes back to when I must have been 10, 12-ish. Obviously, you know about the programme, you can't be in the UK and not know, but before TV and when you just had channels, if it's not on, you can't watch it, and we weren't going to buy VHSs that cost £20 to watch 2 episodes. So I didn't watch it, I just knew it existed. You know, before streaming, think of the time, crazy. So when I eventually found out that they were doing repeats, which is the only way you can watch TV, on a little channel called UK TV Gold, and they would do omnibuses, because Doctor Who isn't just an episode of TV, it's actually a 4, 6 or 8 part episode of TV in one story, so you have to watch it. You can't watch it really. It's not fun to watch 30 minutes week on week, because that's really old format, right? There's not much in them. So they compress them together, 6 in a row. It was an hour and a half. They edited down a little bit, whatever. And so I'd watch that. I'd get up at 7:50 a.m. to start watching at 8 something, which, as you know, for me is insane. Not a morning person. Every single Sunday. So it'd be 1 story per week, which was a great way of watching it. I started me sort of a couple into Peter Davison's, and I watched all the way from Peter Davison into McCoy. So I've seen all of the late classic Who, which for me is the modern era in a sense, because that's like most of the show was those years, right? I did see most of Pertwee's just from they've been re-showing. There's a lot of Tom Baker, and they never showed his late stuff, so I've seen a some, but not a ton. I more know his vibe in his actual episodes per se, and I know he has quite a lot of, because a lot of Doctor Who is pacing issues, because of course they were told to make a cliffhanger after every 30 minutes, but you've got 6 30 minutes and you have so much budget. Often cliffhangers would be very poorly designed, and therefore it felt like padding, right? Because you'd resolve it instantly and then move on. But then that was a waste of time. That's a problem with some of the older Who. I've seen a couple of William Hartnell's, not a ton, but he's reasonably in them, so at least you get a sense of his Doctor. I've seen all the modern stuff. I wasn't super excited when it came back, just because, whatever. And I got into filmmaking in Tennant/Smith, so I started seeing the show through that lens, from Smith to Capaldi to Whittaker, and I really knew stuff in a Capaldi, so I could appreciate what they were doing more in that. So the subtlety of the acting more with Capaldi, I would have looked back at, say, Eccleston or Tennant. I've met them all except Jodie and Eccleston. I've seen him across the way. I haven't met the dead ones either, obviously. But I met most of the main 3, Davison, Baker, and McCoy. There's the convention people. So I met most of them 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Paul McGann several times, in and out of costume. I have an excellent picture of Capaldi in me in costume, him and himself, when he just finished the show, so he still looked like himself with the long hair. As soon as he buzzes it off, he looks like Peter Capaldi, but if he has long hair, he's the Doctor. Didn't manage to get Smith, who's too expensive. I did get Tennant, I believe. The fact I can't remember is a bad sign. No, I didn't get Tennant. And I'm waiting for Eccleston's ego to let him be cheap enough. Because his first convention was like £100. It's like 170 Canadian. for a picture, and he sold out, right, because it's the first big event. But it's like I'll wait for him to be less relevant and cheaper. Cool, thanks. You know, that's okay with me. But I would like to meet Jodie. I would like to meet, and she did conventions as soon as she was done. Like I think she had one booked as soon as she finished with like 4 or 5 weeks. Because obviously all the old doctors would tell her, do the conventions as soon as possible. You leave money on the table. Just do them. Earn yourself, 10K a weekend. Do it. So, quite a history.
Yeah, I'd say. Holy shit. How about your dad? Is he a huge fan?
Ooh, great question. No, but huge about Trek, right? He's watched a lot of stuff. He watched a lot. I mean, he was very much the kid of the 70s with Tom Baker, and obviously anybody in that age range is going to be very knowledgeable because 7 years is basically not leaving the show in your youth from being a child or not a child, and if you live in that time, that is the Doctor to you. So big Tom Baker fan. Saw a good chunk of the new of the after him stuff, but not a ton. Has watched all the new stuff with us as a family. Similar views on the Doctors to me. But he's occasionally gone into fandom a bit more than I would expect, meaning sometimes there's Roman events and he takes a plastic TARDIS he bought years ago and he puts it at places on the Roman site or the medieval site or the whatever site, and I'll then go far away so it's forced perspective and then have a shot of it as if the TARDIS has arrived in some place. There's a whole photo library of that. So you can imagine him, going through security with a TARDIS in his bag, togas and jewellery and boots, TARDIS, real clothes, and so that's a thing. And for a couple of years he went through a phase of saying, "Oh, if I'm in Roman costume at a Star Trek event, I must be a Doctor because I'm a Time Lord. Look at me." Just like, so he tends to go around all different eras.
Gotcha. Cool.
And
I think it's. I was going to say, I think it's probably bigger for people in the 70s that were in Britain, because my brothers would have been all over it, and I don't think they really know much about it either. So I don't know if it was like where it was available to watch here, if we could watch it where we lived. I don't know.
Well, I know that from Colin Baker, which was the 6th Doctor, it got big in America then, but they would get. I remember as he was because between I did just some reading about this recently, between the 5th, 6th, so Tom Baker, Colin Baker, Sister McCoy, Colin Baker especially, it was blowing up in America, but they were only getting Tom Baker reruns on VHS tape, etc. So they took Colin Baker to America to reveal him as the Doctor, world exclusive, but they hadn't even seen the 5th Doctor yet. So everyone was like, "Oh, cool." Like, we love Doctor Who genuinely, but hi, new Doctor Who, quite a way in the future for us. And he hadn't even done a series yet. He'd done one episode, and that was quite. I watched on one of the panels. It's quite surreal. It's like, oh, I love being the. I was like, cool. We'll see you in a couple of years. But they were like, America was a big deal. All through those other Doctors, yes, they all had interest, but all the interest subsided by the end of the 7th. That was just a worldwide thing. The quality was lessening, but primarily it was because the BBC producers, the top people, really didn't like putting money into Doctor Who, so they kept seeping budget out every season. They did try and cancel it twice. One got it a year delay and then a half season of money, and then a full cancellation, which then Fan Reaction brought it back, but lower budget again. So it kept, and when you have so much budget to do, how can you compete with Star Trek? You can't, right? Anything, even Blake 7, or even other American stuff, which for the most part they had more money per episode. I mean, TOS had way more episode than Doctor Who by a huge margin, right? It's far bigger budget. That's why it holds up better. It is bigger. But then it was reasonably popular in America for those. I think it must have been the 70s. Then obviously, Tennant got there a bit, but Matt Smith has been a huge America push, which is why he goes to America in an episode. That was them saying, "Hey, we've finally broken to America again, big. Let's fucking milk that shit," and they did. And it was very American that season, which was odd for us because it felt kind of fake, even though it wasn't. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I like those so much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah. And then obviously from then on, everyone watched around the world. Then it became pretty much a world phenomenon from Capaldi and Jodie. You watch or don't watch, right?
Is Is there anywhere where you can watch them in order? That is that like a streaming
I think
service, or are they kind of
BritBox.
scattered everywhere?
No, I think BritBox has them all.
BritBox, like from
Um,
the beginning, because I wouldn't mind going back and rewatching from the beginning at some point.
so the problem with the idea of the beginning is that this is also a problem they had with, would you expect to see sitcoms from the 80s ever on Blu-ray or anything of a good medium? Well, I guess not. No, not really, because they're filming something and keeping it wasn't really as much of a thing then, when the actual recorded tapes were so expensive that they're keeping onto a tape and putting a back storage unit for. So they ended up recording over Doctor Who episodes in studio. So a good chunk of the first two Doctors don't exist anymore because they just recorded over the one tape.
Jesus.
Yeah, because it was just, this is a show people like, but no one can ever. They aren't VHSs, right? You can't play it. Why would you keep it, etc. So obviously they had the release of it, and it's been this giant 15-year scavenger hunt, whereby, because obviously TV channels would get a copy, and they would either keep them or not, but often not. And this is like the 70s, 80s, right, or the 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
But if the TV network would play it later, someone could VHS record it. So any version of it's good enough, right, at this point, anything that survives. And so there was a guy, I believe in Romania or Russia, who they found in his like underground bunker 3 tapes of 3 full episodes. And
wow.
BBC bought them for like 50k each. And it's like, we have no longer just, because they had audio recordings for everything, that was easy to keep, right? So everything's audioed, but that's not very helpful. But the video is like, oh my goodness. So a good chunk of Hartnell, a lot of Patrick Troughton, unfortunately, although everything from 3 onwards is fine. The most famous ones for 1 and 2 are still existing, because they want to show them as like, look, we made this big piece of content. So the famous ones are there, but the less famous, whatever. And there was a guy at the BBC who was a fan of Doctor Who while working on Doctor Who-ish, and he did this weird thing where he would take basically a screen cap of an episode every like minute, using a clever system he invented at the BBC, and keep the audio so you can actually watch it as like a slideshow. And that is the only way you can watch 10 episodes, because, well, that's how you got all the screen caps you got. Yeah.
Dan Bevan's saying they've been saving episodes with brand new animated versions. So if you said they had the audio, they could very easily animate to that.
Yes.
Have you seen those? Are they any good?
I haven't, but I've seen clips. I mean, it's not the same, but it is something, right? And I know that they obviously, it's as much money as they want to pump into them, and they often don't pump enough money into them. So I wouldn't call them the best way, but it's certainly better than pictures. But I think most fans just hope at some point everything will be found someday. I think it's probably likely, just whatnot. So it is hard to watch the first couple, but of course you don't need to watch every story, you just need to watch a selection to get a sense of who the Doctor is, right? And then from 3 onwards there's the full canon. A lot of 3 is very good, obviously a lot of 4 is very good. I like a lot of 5. 6 is variable, to say the least. 7 has some very good dark episodes, because that Doctor Number 7 was sort of the because they're all their own vibe, right? That's a big thing. So Doctor 6, who's Colin Baker on the thumbnail, he was kind of a bastard, because they had this multi-year arc in mind. There's this really infamous quote he said, and this is after Tom Baker, right? He said, "I want to be the longest living Doctor, to do as many seasons as possible." He's the shortest. Because the fans rebelled, basically. But he was so engaged in the role, he had a multi-year plan in his mind with the top producer to start dark, explain why, and progress into this really nuanced storyline. And they only got into the dark bit and then moved on. And so he's really dark because he couldn't do the rest of it. So it's a very interesting sub thing. Yes. All right, Stuart, are you ready for a history lesson?
Sure.
Top 20?
Well, I've already learned a lot, and it sounds very interesting. So thank you for kind of knowing so much.
You're very welcome. So I sent you 23 Doctors.
You did.
How did you feel when you saw 23? Were you confused?
No, I didn't. Like, I don't know enough about it to be confused. So they all just seem fine to me.
Right. Okay. Cool. Good. Good, that's good version. So this is my. So I've listed out 3 because they were alternates of 1, who I almost conceded put on. But my number 20 though, and there's a reason for everyone, is Rowan Atkinson playing the Doctor for a very, very good Children in Need special. It's like 20 minutes as a very, very good English cast of like the kind of A-list people at the time, including Hugh Grant. At his peak, Hugh Grant. And he was at his peak of Blackadder. And he plays it for the most part of the episode, then regenerates and becomes other famous people. The villains, you'll recognise him instantly, he's a very famous actor. And that was written by Stephen Moffat too.
Nice.
That was the first thing he ever did. That was his big chance. Like, I can do some... It's not full Doctor Who, but I can do it and be excited about it. So he did that. And it's full time travel. It's very clever. They even make fun of time travel logic. And this is worth watching super, super hard because it's very, very, very good. And it was made after the show had been off the air for like 10 years. So it was kind of like, wow, new Doctor Who for the first time in 10 years, ostensibly. And they play with the idea of, well, if you go back in time and then talk to me, can't I go back in time before you went back in time? Well, yes. And then affect the other person's time travel. But then they then see you've done that and then they go back again before you've gone back. And so you keep going back on each other and keep messing up. It's really clever. And he's very, very good in it. He's effortless. He's more charm than funny. More charm than smart. Which is good. But I like the costume. I like his vibe. And obviously he's a hugely good actor. So it's really worth watching. Oh, Can't Relief. Okay. But yeah, really, really good Doctor. So he gets my honourable number 20 because he should be on the list.
Nice. Well, Dan Ben said it's not canon, so
I know, that's why he's 20. That's why he's 20. My number 19 is the Tom Baker's second appearance as the architect. Not architect. Oh god, I had his name. Did I say his name? Curator. Yes. He's some guy that might be the Doctor. He's Tom Baker. He's weird. That's why he's number 19. I didn't love him in the role, but at least he was there.
Cool. Old Tom Baker.
Yes. Number 18 is the first Doctor's second person. Mr. Heimdall played in the 5 Doctors. And you can imagine the difficulty in playing the first Doctor, who obviously was well loved.
Mm-hmm.
This, again, like, how can you find someone to replace the first one? But in an anniversary special, remember all 5 Doctors, one is dead and one won't come back. If you have 3, you can't have the 5 Doctors. And I think he did a rather good job. He captures a good vibe. There's a recent interview I saw where the Doctor's daughter in the show, who obviously worked with him, William Huntnell, a lot, said she rehearsed with this man throughout the time and thought, oh, he's a good actor, but not vibing his Doctor. First time she saw him properly was on location, across a field, on like some rocky field. He's in full costume, he's turned, and the character, weirdly hadn't met yet before the scene, walks up to him, he turns and starts to get in the dialogue. And she's like, oh, I felt the chills of that's my... I get it. That's exactly him. Because he's in the full thing. Got it. He did a rather good performance, considering. That's the first time I ever saw the first Doctor was that version of the first Doctor. So, a good addition to the 5 Doctors. Maybe not quite as the same, but it's because, that's okay. Did a good job considering.
Cool.
And you'll enjoy the 5 Doctors. You just have to watch some of the Doctors first.
Yeah.
It's the super
I think I
anniversary
would.
special.
I think I'd enjoy the whole thing, but yeah, I'm ignorant, unfortunately.
Yes.
So
My number 17 is the Valeyard, the future evil Doctor, who I've always loved as a concept. Because you can imagine if you're in the 70s or 80s and you're like, the Doctor's here, and who's the villain? Also the Doctor. What? A future Doctor. What? So he's evil one time? Maybe.
yeah, why not?
What a fun idea for a story. And he's a wonderful, mean person. And it just makes you, it doubles down on the harshness of the story to think, is this, like, it is really the Doctor, but what leads into how and why. And they do actually name drop the Valeyard in either Jodie or one of the recent episodes, because it is still canon, right?
Yeah.
So they say the Doctor's known by many names. This is one of the names. So And now obviously there might be 55 Doctors, who knows, right? It could be number 27. Or one of the big Finnish versions is that he's all of the evil from the Doctor that's been seeped out by somebody and made flesh. So he is the Doctor, but literally evil taken out and made form. But he was, he was abstract at the time because, of course, it's the villain of an episode or a couple of episodes. But it's a great reveal at the time.
Yeah.
And there's no payoff yet to it. He's just a future evil Doctor.
Nice.
The thing about him being maybe all the evil seep, that was obviously a later retcon maybe. Originally it was, this is the last version the Doctor can be, and so he's at the end of his life, and at the end of your life you'd think differently, right? Because Time Lord's used to living 1,000 years, and how do you feel right at the end? What happens to you at the end, But yeah, interesting idea for a story.
That's what Dan Ben's saying. He gets to choose one old face to look like till at the end of his life or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not specifically, but Valiant's interesting. My number 16 is Jodie Whittaker. So she doesn't even make my top 10. What's your reaction to that, first of all, Stuart?
I'm not surprised. From what I've heard of her run, nobody was really super pleased with it, so yeah, I'm not surprised at all she wasn't in your top 10.
Because there are 14 main Doctors. Well, no, there are more if you count half a generation.
See, it's confusing.
She's actually like 15 and a half, but whatever. And there's a reason she's this low, because somebody else, I'm like, I can't put you higher than this person, but this person is now this number. Just from an acting point of view. She wasn't great, but it wasn't her, it was the stories and the writing. When most things about this episode suck in some form, meaning the script, or the basic story, so the pacing, or the music's very poor, when all those things aren't firing, you wonder why the new Doctor isn't working, because she's not being helped by every other element, right? When you have things like in the 70s, literally cardboard sets that you can see really wobble, and yet the Doctor is keeping it grounded and well acted, then you're succeeding. But when the show is not working and everything around you is failing, and the actor's only okay given a bad script, what can you do?
Yeah. Well, Hypno Amber says she's my favorite as far as acting and personality, but worst writing ever.
Favorite as far as acting, goodness.
Well, Rich McConville though throws in $5.
Excellent.
Thank you. Tom Baker is the most popular, but Patrick Troughton proved that the show would continue with a change of the lead character. Okay.
Although I think Tennant's probably quickly becoming the favourite as all the older people pass away. That split is very much young and old. I think if you were in 2000, it'd be obviously like 85% would be Baker or something of the ilk, or 70%, right? With a lot of Troughton and whatever. But I think Jodie, I've said many a times, she will be great in the specials when she eventually comes back as written by someone else. Then she will do a great job, and only then will she do a truly great job. But it was so odd. Like, I understand she's the start of a second regeneration cycle, because the Doctor does end at the 13 and then progress to a second cycle, which is like almost unheard of, right? So I get it's almost a new thing, but she feels so like a new person without the weight of any of the Doctors or the memories. I mean, there's so many episodes reliant on her going to Earth and not being able to understand how to do a kettle or talk to a postman. And it's like, you've been alive 3,000 years, you've lived on Earth for decades, you know all of this. You shouldn't be surprised. Like, it's hard to believe you're this stupid because you're being written with this little knowledge of the world, yet you're this old.
But doesn't each regeneration come with its own issues as far as remembering things go, or getting used to the body?
Only for a day or two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's always one episode where it's in flux and then it settles down. Obviously, then the Doctor changes as they progress into the new body, but everything should fall back into place by the second or third story at the max. Certainly by the second season, they are who they are and they know all the stuff. She just felt like a fresh character, which is weird. I get it's like a reboot of the show, but you can't have a reboot of a show this big. because everything is built on the canon, and just so many weird things she does for no real reason, just showing she's a really stupid doctor, and she's a screwdriver for almost anything, which is bad because then she hasn't got the internal knowledge to deal with the problem. She can only do a wizard wand and fix it. Again, she's a very stupid doctor, purely writing. But some doctors are really smart. Some doctors are tinkerers. Some doctors know how to do stuff. She does not know how to do stuff, and that's a problem because doctors are really freaking smart. I've been around the block a few times, and she has none of that weight, and it's odd.
Yeah.
So I would love to have seen that. Yeah.
Did you watch all of her episodes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But by the end, we just didn't watch them live, so we waited till like half a season of them binged because they were so uninteresting.
Yeah, I remember you were always like, I gotta watch Doctor Who, and then you just kind of stopped.
Yep.
So I was just wondering if you would watch them at all. That's all.
Yep, I think we watched the Flux one like 3 at a time because they were so not good that we weren't gonna deliberately be at 6 p.m. on a Saturday and watch them. We're just gonna watch them whenever we care. Like no one's talking about them to spoil them. They're not like it was a very fascinating experience to go from being like every week that's what we're doing to does not matter. We'll watch when we get to them. Really interesting, but her last one is her best. The anniversary one, she's not in a third of it though. That's not why it's good. That isn't why it's good, but it's a better episode overall, and she's not in a third of it. Because there's other stuff happening that is also good, right? And that's that. So at least she went down a high. And I'll give her all the credit. Her first episode's pretty good. Her last is pretty good. And the end of one is interesting, although she has some odd villains. And her time loop one's actually her New Year's one's rather good, but the ending's dumb. There's something really. There's pockets of good, right? But they're pockets. It's for the most part not good. Yeah. Again, I'm excited to see her in not her era. She will be much better. I guarantee it. Like I could write her better. Just write her like a doctor.
A lot of people are saying she's good, but the writing for her sucked.
Yeah, so. And the direction. Yeah. Anyway, my 15th. So now on top 15. Now we get into this third incarnation of the first Doctor, which you've seen probably. Which was Filch from Doctor Who plays the first Doctor.
Yes.
So this is David Bradley, who played William Hartnell and who played the first Doctor, because he played him in a docudrama and a real one. Now I like him a lot, but they actively write his Doctor more sexist than he was at the time. Like actively more, because it's the joke, right? He's from the 60s. Problem is, the Doctor is from Gallifrey in the year 3000. Why is he treating women like this? He actually loved his granddaughter a lot. So it's just because the show is 60 years old, therefore the Doctor is antiquated. So they push that stereotype. Like it's funny, but it's like Doctor really wouldn't vibe like that. Like, and if he did it was like occasionally, like a little bit, it wouldn't be a big thing. Like, oh, a woman's here, she should be in the kitchen. No. But if you take those away, he was really good. His mannerisms are great. His voice is great. Really fun to watch and good to bring an audience in with the Doctor for the first time because it's fresh, it's new. And I really liked. I know Capaldi said we know you're leaving, Peter. What would you like to do before you go? Cyberman story, meet the first Doctor. Those were his 2 wish lists, and they did both. So he made this one happen. He's the reason this episode happened because he wanted to meet the first Doctor, and it's a great special. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Hit the like button, guys. We got 22 likes. I think we got 27 people here, so we can do another 8 to get to 30. I'm not gonna ask for 50 right away. Just saying. Hit the like button. Super chat. Thank you to Rich who super chatted. We appreciate it. But we want to hear from you guys about the Doctors because everybody has their own take on the Doctors. That's for sure.
Yes. But any of this encourage you to watch it more? Is any of this grabbing you as a...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm already way on board for watching it. You've really hyped me up for it. So I'm looking forward to finding a place to watch it.
So I feel like what I could do is probably give you like a best of list and say some episodes. Like, this is a great story from each Doctor. Yeah. That, I think, would be a good way of doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, like I say, some are like like I said, 6 parts. They should be 4. And I kind of wish they would do re-releases like nicely edited down to make them more contemporarily watchable. Often the stories are great, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, my number.
I'd be down for that.
Good. My number 14 is. Oh, I did it. What? Oh, did I? Ah, okay, that's right. Because of the yeah. Okay, so 15 was the First Doctor number 3. My 14 is Ruth. Also known as the fugitive doctor, also known as the black female doctor, who came in. So I actually put her 2 doctors ahead of the actual doctor from her period. Isn't that embarrassing, Stuart?
Yes.
So,
this one confuses me because I had no idea this one existed. So
this is a big twist of one of the seasons. Sorry. We think you're a lady. No, wait, you're the doctor. Wait, I don't remember you. I don't remember you. Wait, you're before me. I'm before you. What? And it brings a whole lot of fuckery that we can ignore. But her acting is really freaking good. And the sad thing is, we watched this live. This is when we still were caring weekly. She instantly showed up Jodie Whittaker. Instantly. Her costume's better. Her TARDIS is better. Her acting's better. Her vibe is better. She's more interesting. Within a few minutes, she's a better Doctor than has been a full season of the new one.
Damn.
And that shows you it's not being a woman Doctor. It's being that woman and that writing and that persona. Because this one's great.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely have taken her over Jodie. Sorry to Jodie. But she was... and this is a cool costume. It's simple, but it's cool. It captures more of the Doctor vibe. And she had the first Doctor's TARDIS interior with a few tweaks. So it was really very, very like same basic shapes, but with really dark, dramatic lighting. So it felt hyper modern while being hyper retro. Really nice set. She's only in like 3 because she's confusing, right? Because timelines. But really good performance. But obviously she's in it so little, I can't give her a higher rank because we know nothing about her. But performance-wise, really fantastic. Yeah. What do you guys think? I'm sure it's quite a radical bump there.
Yeah, just saying that she was better instantly than the the one that's... Wow. Well, that's sad though. Like they must have known that writing that would be the case, right?
Not if you take the rest of the season as what they made. It you know, I mean, some people just get it, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh,
what do you guys think?
I feel bad for Jodie then because she got a shit deal.
Yeah, that's why I say bring her in with another cast and crew and writer. She'll be great. It's very strange. But the same thing with Colin Baker. He got bad scripts and some bad whatever. I mean, they all have some bad stuff, all of them in their eras, right? But she got really messed around. And Dan, Sean, Fugitive is far better than 13. Yep. Oh, Hypno. See, I liked her, but I can't make a full assessment. Wasn't enough screen time. I totally disagree with you, Sam. Fair enough. But it was... I turned to my mum and said... Well, what I said to you, she's way better in minutes.
Yeah.
She doesn't do much in her later appearances because she's always in via a really, really big narrative conceit. So she's not really in them. But the actress is. Which is a problem, obviously, because then you can't really add to the character if she's not really there.
Yeah.
And her canonity is fucking who, like, where is she? Who? They deliberately broke canon in a way to mess everything up to be interesting, and it's just so horrible. So anyway, my number 13 though. Is the actual First Doctor, William Hartnell.
Nice.
So Ruth is in between a sandwich of 2 different First Doctors.
Nice.
He is good. I've seen only like 3 full episodes of his, and the one I saw recently when I got the box set was his Dalek story where Daleks take over Earth. And you know what, Stuart? Their mining site to hollow out the Earth, it's in Bedford.
Oh wow!
So the Doctor goes to Bedford. The giant hills of Bedford, the mountain ranges of Bedford. The flattest town ever. It's like, Mum, do you want to visit the hills of Bedford? The giant ore mountains of Bedford. I live in Bedford. That was fun.
Yeah.
See Bedford on a sign. And he does, the hot one does say, "Are we in Bedford?" It's like, oh, he's in. So that was fun. Anyway, he is shockingly gravitas, and he changed a lot in the role. He wasn't this giant alien personality at the start. He was more grumpy. He got less grumpy. Became more of a loving granddad. He did evolve a lot as the actor got more comfortable, and the show changed. You know, that stern teacher versus the loving granddad, who can be a curmudgeon, but you can love him. That's the evolution he had. But you can see his proficiency as an actor, even from one episode that we watched all the way through. And although he hurt his back, well, sorry, he fell off a Dalek ship because there was a scene as a procession of actors. And it was impressive for the time. I'll give him all credit. They had multiple Daleks, multiple extras, a full ship set. Really quite impressive. Like, you appreciate for the time. And they're coming down this ramp, and it's a real ramp, and it's wobbling because it's metal. And it's 4 Daleks, 4 human-controlled, him and a companion. And they're coming down, and obviously the Daleks are sort of controllable, but they're on wheels, right? And they all mistimed it a little bit, so the bounce up, down, of the travel created a bit too much boints that he then got boinced off and smacked into the floor. And you can see it in one of the takes on the Blu-ray. And it's like smashed his... Like, he's an old guy, right? It smashed his, like, knee and stuff, so he, like, hurt himself. So for episode 4, he just decides to sit on a rock. That's episode 4, right? And it's like, oh, he's out the story for 2 episodes. But for the first 3, he's great. Like, the ones he's in, because he's not injured, he's great.
Yeah.
That was just funny how those things happen. But he has a lot of gravitas. You really got both the energy of interest in something and also the knowledge behind, I've seen the world, I've seen the universe. But obviously, he's the oldest looking, but he's the youngest, so he actually knows the least, which is funny, you know?
Yeah.
Meeting Daleks and not knowing who they are or what they do versus Jodie, who's young and can do everything and anything.
How old was the actor at the time, though?
Less old than you think.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I know that Capaldi was 3 years older than him when he took the role.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And he looked significantly younger.
Yeah, absolutely. I had heard something like that, so that's why I wanted to ask.
I'm going to guess 60 something.
How old was Capaldi then when he took the role?
65-ish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both. Yeah. I love that. I never noticed really that all of Hartnell's hair is a wig. That's why it stays the same. The whole thing. That's a wig piece. It's a good wig actually. It gives him a lot of character. Without him, he seems to be thin and too whatever. But he is good. I get why people liked him. He does harness something interesting, but without any of the knowledge of the show behind his character.
Yeah.
It's not an empty performance, of course, but there is no Gallifrey, there is no Time Lords, there is no regeneration, there is none of these things that make him who he is. So when Bradley plays him, he does know these things. He does know what he ran away from Gallifrey for a reason. This guy didn't. For that's interesting, right?
Yeah, I like this grumpiness. I like the gruffness of this guy.
Yeah, it's you get why it's likable, even though you wouldn't necessarily think it would be. Yeah, I'm sure you two.
Because I have seen I've seen a few things of his, mainly just clips and stuff. I don't think I've ever seen a full episode with him, but I think I watched a documentary on something that brought him up, and I saw quite a few clips of him, so I'm aware of him for sure.
Yeah, quality actor, but you'd have to be.
Yeah,
I think you two probably get on quite well.
Wow, thanks. I appreciate that.
Welcome. My number 12, and we're going to get into... And what we can do probably is just... When we get to my 10 sheet, we can probably alternate your 5, my 10. That'll probably go over.
Yeah, sure.
So one above Hartnell. I'm sorry to put him this low, but is Colin Baker the 6th Doctor, who is derided as the least enjoyed old Doctor. But he got the rawest of deals. And he's a lovely man. You appreciate it the more you watch of him. So Tom Baker happened, and the next guy took over. he was Pete Davidson, nice guy, light, breezy, fun character, good version of him, right? Kind of safer, but good. They're having some ratings fine. They want to kind of shake things up. This guy, they pitched doing a darker thing. His first scene in the TARDIS is strangling his companion. Yes.
Damn.
And yelling at her and being very, very mean, like nowadays mean. Like for then it would be even more ridiculous. And this is our hero for 60 years, 70. Like it was very, very bold, and clearly tone deaf, but a thing. But he's a good actor. He has a couple of really good stories, not many, but he hasn't got many episodes. He got screwed by the budget, by the era, by lack of support. And his jacket, of course, is giant and colourful, and the famous story is they wanted something that made him feel alien. And it's a very dynamic jacket, right? You'll always remember that jacket, right?
Yeah.
But the person said to the costume designer, make something tasteless. Because the Doctor shouldn't understand what human taste is. It should be sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
And the lady came back and did 3 costumes, and the director said, more tasteless. You're not getting it. Because they're all art versions, like proper professional. So she just scribbled something random on a piece of paper. Perfect. It had to be that crap. It wasn't even a real design, right?
Yeah. Now, does the colors of this jacket tie into the colors of the scarf later?
Scarf's like 10 years before.
Okay.
There's 2 Bakers. This one's after. This is as the show is going down. But he's a quality actor. He really liked the show. He really engaged with it. He has the 2 Doctor special in his era, which is nice. He worked with another Doctor. Seven didn't. He's the only Doctor to fix the comedian circuit and make it not a police box, which is a fun story.
Oh, cool.
You see the actors come out of a piano or a harp, like a big musical instrument, which is a good visual. He took on Davros, I think, twice, but also his era was the show wanting to go. Dark is a weird word, but there's a lot of violence and dark themes in one of the seasons. Like basically one is Soylent Green with Daleks, and it's a good story, right? But it's really dark for the era. And then his second, or the next season after that, they hyper springed off that, made it more polite and nice, and it was weird. The tone shift was really strange. And he was forced out because the head of BBC said, you get another season Doctor Who if you fire this guy.
Oh, wow.
And that's a sad thing, because the guy who's given the ultimatum to, he's the guy that scouted him, found him, brought him on. He was his biggest, you kill the hero and we'll bring a new Doctor in. And Colin was so upset about this that he refused to come back and film Regeneration. He offered doing a season, one last season. They offered him an episode. And he said, that's not respectful to my character. And so they regenerate him with the new actor in a wig.
Oh my god.
And it's terrible. It's always been terrible. It's always going to be terrible. And he resented the new guy for a couple of years until they forced 2 conventions together for 20, 30 years. And now they're really good friends, right? But he has got some nuggets of good, because he's a lot of that internalized something. He's way more complicated, and you can sense it going on. He's very smart. He's very sarcastic. He's harder-edged, but you know he'll save you. Not say the ones won't, but he will work his arse off to do it. He will probably also insult you at the same time, but he means well. Maybe.
Perfect.
Yes.
Mark Lawrence throws in $5. I missed the bit at the beginning, but are we counting David Bradley as another First Doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Already mentioned him. Yes. Yeah. But poor him, he got screwed by his time as well.
Yeah.
My number 11, though, is the one and done War Doctor, which is really the 8th Doctor, but they don't count him because he doesn't stand for doctoring things. He stands for murder. Murder of Daleks, but murder. John Hurt, phenomenal actor, excellent performance. He's a Doctor for about 30 seconds in it, which is great, a minute or 2, which is lovely, but just a really good performance. The the pre-ads implied to be darker than he was because he's the War Doctor, right? But actually, you saw the torment first and foremost in his soul, and that's what kept him grounded to the character. And just knowing that, you know, this nice guy who we see regenerate into a young version of John Hurt, so he's like in his 40s, and then he lives this old to become this guy with all the wrinkles. Like, that's how hard he fought. He became this old, fighting the entire life of this character, is heartbreaking, but he also saved the galaxy. So, you know, he gave up his own life, sanity to fight and to save everyone. So, gotta respect the guy. But you must have seen the special with him, surely?
I did.
Okay.
And I saw him on the list, but he didn't make my list because I didn't remember much of his performance. Because it was quite a while ago that I saw that, and as much as I wanted to add him to the list, I just couldn't. I just didn't feel like I knew him. And like you said, he wasn't in it very long. So,
has anything I said jogged anything in your brain?
Yes. I remembered like the fact that he has lived this life as this form of himself, but other than that, not so much. I don't remember the special offhand, so.
I saw it in the cinema in 3D with a full audience, so that was an experience.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
And that was the Doctor Who movie. And boy, the audience reaction in that one was excellent, as you can imagine. We were hyped up on the excitement juice.
Yeah.
And he certainly, obviously, he pays off better if you've seen the other of him, right?
Yeah.
You appreciate where he's had to go. But it's nice. They always manage to put levity in him. He's shocking. Like I said, he was meant to be dark, as what they implied. He's shockingly friendly and that good stuff along with the dark, which is really useful because, you know. Yeah, dark. Oh, yeah, so I meant Ninth Doctor. Yes. Hey, Course. Good to see you. Right, now my official number 10.
Yay.
Is Doctor.
Don't worry, guys, I have a list too, but mine's only 5.
You do. Even though there's 23 Doctors, apparently. My number 10 is Doctor number 9, Christopher Eccleston. He beats out War Doctor because he's in more episodes, which I think is fair. Eccleston. He's alright.
Bit of a cheeky character, I think, though.
Yeah,
a little bit arrogant and egotistical.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly.
He's just a difficult one because he's both super haunted and then also running away from it super hard. So he's both, you know. But he
didn't have much runtime either, did he?
One season.
Went
at the end.
Yeah.
Some good episodes, but that's the episode, not necessarily him in the episodes. If you know what I mean. Like, the one with the gas marks isn't good because he's in it. It's good because of the story. He's just the one in it. Any doctor could have done the episode well. I get where you could like him, but I'd already... Like, if he's a new Doctor to you, he's a fun, energetic character. I get that. But seeing all the other Doctors, I'm like... There's not a ton of the other Doctors in him, which is not a prerequisite, obviously, but... Like Capaldi and Smith and Tennant, they harness the old characters in their new selves. He is just him. Which is fine, and I understand the logic retconned after. You know, he's post-war. He's forgotten about the War Doctor because the pain of that is so big. He's had to block him, so he's dealing with the PTSD in a way. I get the logic behind that, but there's so little of the overall character in him, and he's so dark and rare. There's not a lot of the, you know. He's okay. You know.
Yeah.
But I don't prefer Colin Baker, but because this, I think, but those are close.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched his stuff before Matt Smith's, but I still consider Matt Smith to be my first Doctor for some reason, which is really weird.
Well, if it doesn't, between a show to a show you watch, there's a difference.
Yeah.
Plus, yeah, it's hard. It's only one season. They're very of the era they're from. And it's hard to watch his era and then Tennant, because Tennant is so much better. Instantly, it's like this normal and bright. So the contrast feels more.
Mm.
But I enjoy obviously the dark. I mean, he's got 3 good ones, right? Like really good ones, because they're really good ones. Obviously, Dalek is very, very good, and he's just being yelling and dark, and but it's not very doctory, is it? But he's come off the War Doctor, so I get it. But that wasn't a thing yet. So,
Well, I gotta say, I gotta go back and watch Doctor Who now because but I don't know where to start from. I don't know if I want to start from the beginning. I don't know.
yeah, I can give you I can give some links and just here are some highlights to watch. There's definitely some fun ones, and I really do obviously wish he'd stop having his ego and come back and do more, because he'd be better with more stories, right? He outright refused to be the 50th because of didn't like the BBC. He made the War Doctor, which is great, really good character, but obviously the War Doctor is meant to be the 9 Doctor. Obviously, like structurally, it's the same character, right? And it would have been great, would have been fantastic. But by not doing it, you create even more of a legacy, so it's kind of cool. But it gives him this weird little vacuum of content. But he has some fun acting moments. Just, I know the other Doctors, right, pre and post, and he's not there for me. But he does get 10, so good for him.
It was just an off regeneration. It's fine.
After the War Doctor, I don't. Yes, that's fine. All right, would you like to jump in with your number 5?
Sure. My number 5 is the first Doctor, Hartnell.
Way.
Like I said, he had to be on the list because he's the first Doctor. I have seen a lot of clips of him. Like I said, I don't think I've seen a full episode, but I really did like his kind of grumpy, gruff attitude, which I don't know if I ever saw like the more grandpa-like version that you were talking about, but I just kind of liked him. He's just this old. He seems like he just looks like he represents a lot of knowledge, even though, you know, he's not that old. He looks way older. Like, I didn't think he was as young as you were saying. I thought he was much older just because of the way he looks. And I didn't know about the wig and stuff either. But yeah, I had to have him on here. He was the first Doctor. He's only my number 5 though. So there you go. I haven't seen a lot of stuff with him, but what I have seen has impressed me, so I want to see more. That's pretty simple.
Yeah, nice. And it's a fun character to have that cognitive distance of he's the baby.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also I love there's 2 ways of playing it. Either he's the youngest or he's the oldest, in the sense that he's the only character who was born, who lived a youth, who had girlfriends, who got married, he had children, he raised the children grew up, the children had children, he became a granddad, he lived with the children until they were old and stole one.
Damn.
Right? His granddaughter to the adventures. Every other Doctor transformed into an adult, had none of those experiences of any kind, never planned to either. Some only lived for a couple of years, some lived for a couple of decades, some lived for a couple of 100 years. He's the only one that actually lived. I just think that's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they all have memories of that, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a symbiote.
Yeah, it's all the same guy or girl, but you know he's only had kids, and so I really hate the fact they never address his, because he says he has 2 daughters, and they have kids, which means you can play that in. You can have 10 grandkids, right? You have lots of little Doctors flying around, or you know, of his ilk, and they never play that ever. He's got parents. None of the other Doctors have parents, in the sense of not their body. Mm-hmm. Or what did a young Will Hartnell, what did a 20-year-old Hartnell look like in the role? What was actually at the academy? Like, that's the only one that lived a life.
Did he have any siblings?
Oh god. So they well in Capaldi they do show some really, really interesting flashbacks where he was born or he grew up, which is because you don't want to do too much about the mystery of the character, right? You don't want to do too much. I believe he was I know he was sent off very young to the Gallifreyan Academy and separated from his parents, who didn't know them that well. I don't know. I don't think he had siblings, but I wouldn't be against retconning one because they could have had him after. Because I think if you have...
That would be really cool, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But also, if you go by his parents were Time Lords, meaning regenerationable, then obviously his mum, body number 5, could have had a baby who'd still be a sibling, but like 400 years later, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But not all Gallifreyans are Time Lords. There are 2 different tiers of society. Most people just live a life, and some live in the Citadel and have Gallifreyan powers. It's not, they made the power. It's not an inbuilt. They were just people, right? If you go by Chibnall's bullshit, if you go by real count, it's different. But most people just live.
Okay.
But yeah, I've always been fascinated by meeting his kids. His whole grandkid, seeing his kids, seeing how they would react to him, especially since if they could regenerate, you then got, hi, I'm your father number 12. Well, I'm your daughter number 6.
Yeah.
Okay. I was 12 in my last generation. Crazy. So. Good. Cool. Well done. Okay, my number 9 is the second Doctor. Better than Eccleston, because I've seen a bit of him. I've seen mostly his specials, meaning 5, 3, and 2 Doctors, where he's brought on as a guest Doctor. But obviously, he has to be given enough to do. So I've seen those many times. So I have seen a couple of his other episodes. He's obviously the guy to follow the first, which is insanely hard to do. But he had this really unique characterization because, of course, he was much younger. So he knew he had all this knowledge from another life that he was playing into that. So he has this inner darkness, this inner expertise that he's hiding behind a veil of stupidity. He's playing a character to lull villains into a false sense of security. He is smarter than them, but he doesn't have to project it. The first Doctor had arrogance, this guy had clownishness, and then solved the issue. So he's playing more of a living a life vibe. And he's very liked by his companions. He's got a really good roster of companions who are still well known to this day. He's more friendly, more relatable, funnier, and the actor was so that when he appeared in the 2 and the 3 Doctors, so with the third Doctor was incredibly script precise, line for line, including other people's lines around his lines. He was very on script. Second Doctor liked some improv. Or like in essence improv, meaning he would walk into a room, the line's meant to be, how are you doing, my dear chap? He might walk in and say, hello, fine day, dear fellow.
Yeah.
Same line, different line. And so that, therefore, the lead-in for the next line would then suddenly maybe not fit quite as well. And so third Doctor would be like, they're crafted and you're fucking with the craft. But it's very naturalistic because he's inventing it as he goes. And they had to find this equilibrium of those two styles to just interact with each other because they found it difficult. And they each learn from it, which is fun. So you do always different takes and kind of played with it, and they'd pick the best one, at least when he did takes. So he's very creative in that way.
Nice.
And I know that a lot of the actors really liked him, and most of the actors who played Doctor afterwards remembered his Doctor more because his stuff came when they were older. So he always had a fondness in Colin Baker's mind, and I believe Pete Davidson's as well. So he was well liked by a lot of people. So it's a strong number 9.
Yeah, he looks familiar. I know I've never seen anything with him in it.
And he's the Doctor that came back the most. So he had the least like internal pride against the show. Like, I left, happy to come back.
Yeah.
Which is lovely because he was always good and he always added a lot to it. Even if the show, even by bringing him back, it broke the show's canon. They didn't mind because it was fun.
How long did he do the Doctor for, though?
Just 3 years. Everyone did 3 years, give or take, until obviously Tom. But yeah, so he did all the specials. I would love to have met him. I think he would have been a lovely, really fun guy. And early, like proper early conventions, the Doctors came in costume.
Nice.
Which I remember Peter Davison was the 5th Doctor. He came in all of his conventions in full costume because he thought that's what you did. I got told he doesn't have to do that. He's like, I don't. But how cool is that the actor would want to come in full costume?
That's awesome.
And then you're really meeting him. He did a big event in full costume where he was still a doctor, and there were it was poorly organised. There was like a ticket problem, and there was lines outside the venue in the sun, English sun way, down the road, and he was so like, I don't like this. He went out and talked to the entire queue. So imagine the doctor walking out and talking to the queue, and walking down the entire queue. Who you've come to see? That one actor.
That's phenomenal. That's just a good person in general.
Yeah. And in a similar vein, the third Doctor, John Pertwee, he did almost every event for the rest of his life in a variation of his costume. Because he loved the clothes he wore, the frilly shirts and the jacket, so he always did them in a something that was very close to his costume. Not from the show, but always came in a costume. Just he liked it.
Nice.
So you always got to see a kind of a... So that was fun. Yeah. He was
representation of himself.
Yeah, he was really into it. And obviously Hartnell died before there were conventions, right? So they've... Yeah. And Troughton didn't do conventions until the third Doctor said you totally should, and he was hooked on them because he just loved. He thought it was above it because there weren't conventions. You know, that are doing that seemed odd, and then something, boom, wow, I can make money, meet fans, and interact. Yes.
Cool.
And then he got to a really fun rapport with the third Doctor from the three Doctors, and they played that up on stage where they did panels. Really argumentative. And it's all an act, but it's really combative, like their characters. Yeah. There's some really fun panel videos of them just interacting, even into his like 70s, whatever, like 15 years later, like just playing the anyway.
Cool.
It's a history lesson, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm excited to watch Doctor Who now.
Yes, and there are some
you're
best
actually
stories.
pumping me up to do it. Yeah.
There are still ones that hold up really well today because they're good stories, right? My number 8, though, is the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. So he's on that took after from Colin Baker, who almost got or did get the show cancelled. Sylvester, my first celebrity I ever met. He's a small Scot, so he's not Scottish. His name is not Sylvester McCoy. That's his stage name. And he was Radagast in The Hobbit. He's not done much else because he was so good in this role. And his first episode was written for Colin Baker, and they didn't have time to rewrite the script. So he did another Doctor's story and tried to put himself into it. And he had really lots of problems in his first season. So almost none of him, like, truly his character in the first season. So the fact that he put himself into it so strong, it's because he's trying to do something with the material. His second and third season, he turned up everything in the way he thought was cool. And he became a bit of a prick in the sense that who is the Doctor if not a very smart, intelligent, charismatic character? What happens if he thinks, to save the galaxy, my companion must go into that trap and maybe die? Well, I mean, that's what happens anyway, right? But what if you plan for that as part of your equation? He became the strategist Doctor. You can see that in his head. He's thinking, he's planning. There's a real lurking gruff and like darkness that is very unusual for every other Doctor. He could win a war. He could play a game of chess, right? And you don't know what is up. That's what the hat and he plays a lot of the second Doctor's fool, and then turns it right into the darker, gruff grandpa. He's a very good tonal Doctor, but also he can really play that comforting character. He's got a lot of facets to him. He's hard to play, so he changes through episodes, but it's intentional change. You can sense it, but it's per situation. He's not just Tom Baker's fun. He's playing a really interesting game, and there's going to be a potential big story for the character, for this version of the character, before the show's actually cancelled and then off the air for 10 years, 20 years, right? He was the cancellation point. That's why he was the Doctor for 20 years, because it was cancelled, or for longest running Doctor. They almost made him a Time Lord god.
Oh wow!
Because they liked the idea of his internal brain process. Like there was that was the, and they also had the story of he would be one of the three gods that helped form Gallifrey, which is very similar to what Chibnall did, just in his own bullshittery. But he'd be one of the three. We met the other two gods throughout the course of the show, or I say gods, just the top tier people from his race, and he'd be one of them. And that was going to be crazy, right? But then they didn't do it. I'm glad they didn't, because having him be so powerful and weird it's nice he's just a guy who stole a box. That's a nice facet to the character. Yeah.
Cochloid says, "Don't forget Peter Cushing. I know he's not canon, but I like the human inventor called Doctor Who. Bernard Gribbins was good in the second movie too. I don't know what any of that means."
He was on the list, but he didn't make my top because, like I say, he's not canon, nor did he actually have the doctorisms. He's just playing literally a human who made a TARDIS, and that's the story. Because someone else managed to buy the rights, like make the movie rights to Doctor Who. So it had to be the Doctor, the TARDIS, Granddad. Everything else was unique. So just a guy on Earth that built a TARDIS. Yeah. Not bad movies, but they are remakes of episodes just with a bigger budget.
Yeah.
But I like Sylvester McCoy, and he's got some. He has not got many great episodes, but he has a lot of great scenes in great ideas that are let down by other things. There's a really fun... Well, I say fun, it's not, it's creepy. There's a really fun episode where he fights a circus.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a clown who runs the circus who is really good at his role. And there's a scene where Boss Man McCoy, legend that he is, it's near the end... Spoilers, but you won't watch for a long time. This is when pyrotechnics were getting bigger. and they're blowing up their entire set. This carnival tent, this circus tent. And the entire thing's going to explode. And it's the last thing in the episode, give or take. And he's meant to walk away from the explosion. And he did it, right?
I see where this is going.
Yeah. But they timed it so poorly that he got caught in the explosion, technically. So he starts walking out. It explodes. He's in like the smoke and he feels the heat on his neck. Like it affects the back of him. And he keeps walking, does the scene. Because the set's destroyed. Like that's one take and it's done. And he finishes the entire take. I was like, did I just get exploded? Yes, you did. So kill Sylvester. But what a professional.
Yeah.
Professional. Because that would have been immeasurably expensive to do again. But it looks amazing because he's dangerously close to the explosion. Because he is. So it looks phenomenal.
That's great.
Yeah, because it was that dangerous. But there's also the most stupidest thing ever he did in his first season, right at the end. Do you know why it's called a cliffhanger, Stuart?
Yeah, because the original one was literally hanging off a cliff. It was in like the 1800s. It was an
wrong. It's called a cliffhanger because Sylvester McCoy in episode 4 or whatever his episode walks into a chasm for no reason, climbs onto a ledge, goes over the ledge with his umbrella, harnesses the edge of the ledge with his umbrella so he's hanging off, goes down the umbrella, says, "Oh no, I'm in danger now," and he hangs off the cliff. There's no motivation for it. It achieves nothing. Next episode, he's pulled up by his companion. And you're left wondering, why did he almost kill himself? Because they had to have a cliffhanger there.
Wow. Okay.
It makes no sense. So yeah, number 7. A lot of good scenes in 7.
Nice.
Okay, your number 4, Stuart.
My number 4 is the Ninth Doctor,
hey!
Christopher Eccleston. Like I said, I kind of liked his take on things. Plus, you got to give him credit. He was the one that kind of was the reason the Doctor Who came back. So much in line with my 5th. He's the first Doctor. He's the one that started it all. Kind of same here. Got to have respect for the guy. And I kind of liked a lot of his characterization. He was quite energetic at times, which I really appreciated. And I honestly can't remember a lot of his stuff, of his specific acting choices. But like you said, some of those episodes are quite memorable for different reasons and creepy. So, yeah, he was technically my second Doctor. I think I saw a Matt Smith thing first, then I went back and watched Eccleston. I didn't watch any of Tennant, really. But I've seen Tennant like so much. It's just saturated because everybody loves Tennant. I've seen so many clips and the second regeneration, all that stuff. So, but yeah, Eccleston I thought was interesting. And like you said, even just watching the little that I have, he was the most, I guess, unique and not really didn't embody the other versions that I saw later, which, yeah, something about his performance was just different and unique. So, and again, I want to go back and rewatch them because I do remember enjoying a lot of them. And there's one or two frames of him that I can picture in my head where he's got that cheeky smile and he's just like, let's go do this thing. Like I said, that energetic nature. So, yeah, that's why he's number 4 for me.
Yeah, kind of shifting between that ultra dark and the ultra happy manic.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right? Like, no shade.
Yeah.
And just to remind you some of the episodes, the end of the world when he's in the future and he sees the stretch lady.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The one with the funeral parlor and the Dickens with the ghosts.
I don't recall that one. I thought that's when I think I would have really remembered because I love.
And Dickens is a great performance. He's a very famous actor, the helper in that. The one where they go back to London, the Slovene, the pig who's a space pig who's not, the ship crashes into the Big Ben, and they have these giant farting Slovene monsters trapped in human bodies for 2 episodes, and Harriet Jones MP who then becomes Prime Minister.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
Dalek, where he finds a Dalek in a bunker and then the Dalek heals and kills everyone.
Don't recall that one offhand.
Well, that's the most famous one.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's where he yells about wanting and enjoying killing them all. It's like, oh, but you didn't. The other guy did. But okay. The one where they go to the future and they find that Earth's being controlled by a giant slug attached to a ceiling.
That I remember. Yeah.
Pretty good one. Rose. Father's Day when she goes back in time to save her dad and then kills the universe.
Yep.
But time. That was a good watch back in the day, the first time, because that was there were good effects and it was a good premise. Killing the universe, give or take. And then the double one with Jack and the gas mask kids. Those are great, obviously. Yeah. And then Bad Wolf, the final 2, Weakest Link, Space Station again, reused sets, Dalek revealed, and then the giant twist. We didn't kill all the Daleks. In fact, they all survived. Oh.
Yeah.
That sad moment of, but I thought I killed you all, but I didn't. Shit. And then Rose just massacres them all again. Even though, of course, if Rose has access to the time vortex, I mean, she sees all time and space, she shouldn't just be killing all the Daleks here. She should kill them all everywhere, which means they would never exist to fight again. So what's the point in killing them now, Rose? Do your job properly!
Yeah.
So that's it. There's not many episodes.
Yeah.
There's not many, right?
I remember bits and pieces here and there. I don't know why my memory is so fragmented from that. I was probably doing other shit at the time while I was watching it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that's number 4. I gave 8th was 7. My 7th pick for top 10 Doctor is the 3rd Doctor. So he does eke out the 7th Doctor because he has generally better stories. He's a really odd one, is Mr. John Pertwee, because Finding Colour, budget increased, Earthbound, which meant that the budget went further relative to random space stuff, because the Doctor's locked on Earth to screw you. So there's no TARDIS in it, pretty much, until his last season. It's really cool to see him travel, because it's like, wow, we're travelling. Yeah. But the unit cast are really excellent. They stand the test of time really well. He's likeable, he's grumpy, he's not grumpy, he's very smart, yet has these wonderful moments of, I'm a genius. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, no. And that lovely shift is really, really fun to watch. He's younger than he looks, so he has actually more youthness. He was more youthful than his persona was. So he'd love his own stunts. He invented the idea of doing the martial arts. So he's a fighting doctor, and he also does shoot people before that became a rule. So don't watch the cuts of him shooting people, because he does shoot some aliens with guns, like once or twice, right? But he's very smart, very capable. He's more that scientisty vibe, and with his dress sense, and just a really nice man. Like I said, did all the conventions for a long, long time. He did a lot of guest spots, a lot of he was very, very he really appreciated the role. He had 2 big roles in the UK, both were very, very famous, and he loved them both and really embraced the fandom in a way that most didn't. This is a special kind of actor. You know, you kind of feel that vibe from him. And I really enjoyed doing it as well, which you can feel.
Well, the Scottish Nightmare says, when I think of Doctor Who, this is who I imagine. So,
yeah, he's a really good balanced sort of Doctor because he's really smart, actiony, energetic, some dark. He's an early amalgamation of personality traits that we get into later, but with a really good writing, and plus he faces the Master for the first time, and that creates a nice, you know, an equal to him is an unusual thing in Doctor Who in any situation. So to fight someone who both understands you and can outsmart you until you beat him because he's an idiot, it is a fun thing. And yeah, just some good companions too. Joe Grant was very good, as was Sarah Jane, of course, from the one of the best companions of all time. So yeah, good Doctor, and some good stories. Very, I would say, quite dated are some aspects of his stories. They are like the black and whiteness of the first two make it feel more historical. His is in color, or at least most of them are. Kind of make it feel like, oh, that now feels dated, even though it's newer. There's some oddities there. Yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
My sixth.
Yes.
Is Matt Smith, and this was I had to work out where I put the new ones, right? Because I didn't know until I did the list. He's very good. He plays more of the silly than a lot of Doctors, but then instantly he can shift and play the ultra dark, and he was absolutely gangbusters at having 1,000 years behind the eyes, yet 20 years on the face. That was masterful. Yes. Don't know how he did it, right? And you felt the shifts in him going from let's have fun to I'm going to destroy your galaxy or world. Like, you really felt that. Really, really good actor. But you can tell he's being himself a lot. You know what I mean? Like, he's giving a lot of himself to the role, which is fine. It's very effortless. I like Clara. I like all of his companions quite a lot. He has a very mixed bag of stories, though, I find. Moffat was really having some odd times. Some are really, really good. Some are really, really not good. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, total trash. And the Chris Chibnall episode with the boxes, good until the shitty end, but there's reasons for it. I think his first episode where there's that is like a feature length one. That's one of his best ones. Amazing introduction, just amazing story, great acting. It's just really, really, really good. Good costumes, a lot of variety, and some really good stories. His Christmas Carol is very, very good, with the snakes and the flying whales, whatever. Very, very good. Just a lot of weirdness. I'd say he's one of the weirder Doctors, and when the weird works, it's phenomenal. When it doesn't work, it's weird and doesn't really work.
Yeah, that's a good summation.
But that's all stories, right? It's subjective to the stories, and not a bad actor, and I would love to see him back again, as he's growing up as an actor, and definitely, you know, he's having a midlife weirdity. Is this old guy in a box? He's like, let's have fun now, because Tennant was still haunted by. Tennant was sort of have fun, but still, I still know the weight, and Matt Smith was totally letting it go, letting it be free and having a fun life, and you felt that as a persona. Yeah. Well, I hate his first TARDIS. Well, I hate his orange TARDIS.
You hate his orange what?
Hate his first orange TARDIS because it's just too weird. Like I get what they're doing, but I don't like it. I love his last TARDIS because it's so the most perfect to me. This is the old TARDIS made new. It gets it and then makes it fresh and new, with the spinning things, and really good. I would love to have been on that set. It would have been amazing. All right, Stuart, you're number 3. Your first.
My number 3
ninth,
is
and then
12th Doctor.
Peter
Capaldi was the last one I watched, and I loved his gravitas. Like, I've seen him in other things, and he's just got a presence about him. Again, it's that snarkiness with the intelligence and the commitment kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I just think he did a really fantastic job with the role, and he had fun in it. I like that he had like the sunglasses were like a thing for a while, right? An interesting take, and he just, yeah. It's the last one I watched. It's kind of more fresh in my mind, but him and Clara, I think, did. They were really good stories and some sad stories as well. And he's a phenomenal actor, and I think he really just went to town on this role and kind of embodied everything that Doctor Who should be. From what I know about Doctor Who, anyway. Like you said, that darkness, the broodingness, and also the kind of the humor and the joy that goes along with it as well. I think he did a fantastic job with all of it. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of, guys, we had 2 super chats in an hour and a half. So any love for Doctor Who, let us know. Because
Yes.
we're doing alternate things occasionally, but we'd like to do more. Yeah, obviously Capaldi is on my list, so I'm not going to go into too much because obviously he's on my list, right? Because 20. Yeah, nice. Do you have any favourite stories of his specifically that stand out? Now I can ask you that. Any specific ones? For anything for any reason, right? There's no wrong answers.
Nothing specifically is coming to mind, except for the one where he gives Clara. I don't even remember the structure of the story. Is it actually Clara? Like he talks to her in a diner? This is like his last appearance, maybe.
Her last appearance, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
It was when Clara. So when Clara, he brought her back using a Time Lord time cheat, pulling her from 1 second before she died, and therefore she can't die, but she does, but she doesn't. You can't let them do this, and then kills the President Gallifrey's top war officer, saying sorry ahead of time to steal her from her own timeline to make sure she lives, and then she runs away with her own TARDIS with the little girl who can't age. And it's the first Doctor's TARDIS again, like the design, and then they're doing their own thing, and then because timelines are wonky. She's like, "Hello, do you remember me?" No, okay.
Yes, I just remember that being a very sad moment, and very sad. Like it actually very like hit me in the feels. And usually shows like this don't really do that, so I do recall that, but I don't recall the specifics around it.
Yeah, when the diner is the TARDIS and it moves around him and disappears, and he's like left in the dirt. It's like, oh,
yeah,
huh, okay,
yeah.
I guess my TARDIS is in the closet then. Yeah, and he has a very good pair with Clara as well, because she's not fiery is the wrong word, but she's very his equal in a lot of ways. Yeah, so they would be very together in a partnership, right? Yeah. So there was sexual tension with Matt Smith and Amy, a lot of it.
Yes.
And they were like best friend vibe, but these were like equals in a lot of ways, so they could do a lot of things together. A really, really good dynamic. And obviously, Tennant and Rose just want to bang, so like different dynamics, you know.
When was the Impossible Girl thing? Was that Matt Smith?
Yes.
Okay, because I really liked her in that role as the Impossible Girl.
Yes, she went from being super important to just girl, which is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But once you throw her into all of the Doctor's lives, it's kind of hard to go further than that. Except she didn't see the future lives, which kind of breaks the canon, but they haven't got there yet. It's fine. This is one that stands out to me for Capaldi, especially because as an actor, he's one of the best actors to take the role, I think. And I've seen all of them.
I've seen him in a lot of different stuff. He's very good.
Because he does have a ton of complexity in what he gives you. Not to say others don't, but he comes across really well. The one that stands out for me from an actor point of view is the one where he's trapped in a glass castle for 1,000 years and has to hit his way out. Remember that?
I don't.
He's the only actor in the entire episode.
Don't remember that.
The one before his last one, where he wakes up every day in a castle, followed by a figure that's trying to kill him, and he has to keep walking. The thing's slow, but if he stops, he'll kill him. And he keeps finding this chamber of glass, but it's not glass. It's the world's strongest diamond, or the universe's strongest. And he gets so frustrated by the universe every day that he punches it, and then the monster kills him. And so he has to live 1,000 lives, 1,000 days, 1,000 deaths to punch it progressively to get to his target at the other side. And to watch that, because there's clues the entire time, right? Like, his clothes in the first scene are actually his normal clothes, that he keeps dying and leaving them for himself, because the world resets. It's very, very intricate. And turns out it's a Time Lord puzzle. Which is great. It's a great, it leads in. But for one guy to 100% action episode and do it flawlessly, the directing is phenomenal as well. That's one of the best directors in my opinion. But that is really good. Both in monologue and talking to this death character. It's just very, 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 very big.
I don't remember that one. Wow.
Yeah, this is the one before his fight with the Time Lord season ender. That's worth watching again, because that was really good. And the twists as you evolve it are really special. Okay, cool. Number 3. My number 5 is again the spoof Doctor. I want to put him in there twice.
Right.
Well, he's my Doctor 5.5, because in terms of enjoyment character factor, he should be there in the top 5, because he's really, really good in the role. Anyway, little joke there. My number real 5 though is Tom Baker. Sacrilege, Pitchforks, that's okay. Now, I've seen some of his episodes, but not really all of them. But I've seen enough to know I do like the characterization a lot. He is his own thing, right? He's this weird, tall guy with a scarf and curly hair that does weird things. It's almost his own character, right? But I don't...
He's the one I associate with Doctor Who, though, and did before Matt Smith.
Yeah.
And Eccleston. For some reason, he's the one that stands out in my memory as when I was a kid of Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, certainly he's the one that translated furthest around the world. But to me, he's Tom Baker playing Tom Baker in Doctor Who. He's kind of doing his own thing, and yes, that might help to find future characters. But if we look at Peter Capaldi, he's playing the Doctor, who's an amalgam of his other parts. Tom Baker is playing Tom Baker. That's why if you watch him off screen, he's very similar, obviously less smart because the Doctor's smart. But he's not acting as much as living and giving it his all. And you don't necessarily get the stuff of the other Doctors in him because he's just doing his thing. It's great, but it's almost like his own subset of the character. So I'm going to lower that in my score as only 5 because other characters pull from the Doctor into this character. He's his own personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still great. You know, some really great episodes.
I don't think I've ever seen him do anything Doctor Who, though. I've never seen one of his episodes, so...
Well, it's funny. He did no specials, except the anniversary, which was the recent one, which wasn't playing his Doctor. So therefore we never saw him outside of his own series. But of course he had 7 years, so he has the most episodes. And it's funny because he's long, you know, many stories of how he was the longest running. He actually outworked directors and writers and producers and staff. So he, by his 7th season, or by his 6th and 7th, he was actually directing the directors.
Really?
Because he knew the framing of his episode. He knew often if he should get a line rather than the actress, he would often rearrange scenes. There's a famous blooper where he's meant to walk in with his tribal companion Leela, and he goes in first, and he's like, "Oh no, you should go in first, and I should come." Like, why don't we both do this thing? We're both doing this around a corner because it'd be funnier. He just thought, let's try that, and he's like, "We'll just try it, director. Like, I'm directing us now to do a thing," and he does it. And it's funny, right? It works. But that was him on set a lot of the time. Like, I think we should do this because he does know the character better. He does know the show better. He does, like, of course he does. And that's why he was fired, ostensibly, because he was too in control, he was too powerful, he was too whatever. You know, if Tom didn't like you, weren't working on the set. He would change lines often, but he does know the character in 7 full years of the, you know. So there's a lot of that oddness. So this last year he kind of checks out a bit because now he knows he's leaving. He's not who he started out being. That's why it's fun to see him at the start when he's really there. But I haven't quite as much seen the end. And he dated like 3 of his companions, so, and he married 2 of them, or married 1 of them. But again, 7 years.
Yeah.
So yeah. Only my number 5. But my number 4 He is David Tennant again. Pitchforks. Sorry. Yes. The problem with Tennant is also his era. They do a lot of running.
That's the joke, yeah.
That's the joke. But it isn't a joke. They do a lot of running. And it takes a lot of screen time. You start breaking down the scenes. It burns a lot of time. A lot of his episodes aren't very good. Because they're really silly sci-fi concepts I just don't enjoy. Now, when he is good, he is phenomenal. But that can be said for Smith and Capaldi, right? I find some of his episodes very dated for, some things. He's also, look at his look. That's a suit.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like the Doctor. Now, obviously, if you've grown up with Tennant, he is your Doctor. But that's a suit. He's missing a lot of that Doctor sheen. He's his own thing. He's David Tennant, right? Again, he's giving a lot of that. But those are just surface level stuff, right? That's why I'm voting over other stuff. That's surface level. But tremendous depth. He can go from the fun to the sexy to the charming to the crying to the really intense. He can do everything. Really versatile in his zone. Really, really versatile. He even got to the point of being a time god in essence, saying, if I can do this, I can control anything. And then the universe saying, don't be that Doctor, be the good guy. I'm sorry, universe, I won't be because if you're the last Time Lord, you've got the only TARDIS, if you can control time, I'll change stuff. Let's have fun. He got to that end point, which was really great to see. And his ending is it's incredible. And watching the behind the scenes of Tennant's last day, he cries because it's I gave three versions of I Don't Want to Go. Each one took headspace to get back into because obviously that's the moment. And each one is modulated very, very differently, but yet the same. And they all picked which one they thought was right, and it's the one we see. And it's really, really apropos. It's really just so good. Then TARDIS blows up for some reason. I don't know. But he's not as alien. And his stories, like I say, are a little bit formulaically running. Sonic the Baddies. There's a few more formulas going on that I like. Personally. And yeah, some of that stuff kicks in a little bit for me. Because I saw it live. I enjoyed it live. Sad when he went. Excited he's coming back. All that normal stuff. But I have all the old stuff to compare to as well. So, that's me. Any thoughts? I'll throw that in.
Well, if we're going to go to my second. My second is David Tennant.
Yay!
Yeah, I wanted to put him lower on the list.
Ooh. For the hype.
Yeah, I wanted to put Capaldi in front of him, and then I thought better of it at the end. I'm just everybody loves David Tennant. And from what I've seen of him, I think he's a very talented guy. I really remember him for his sad faces and for his energetic, excited, and running, as you were saying. I just think he's overhyped. I really do. I think it was just the right time, the right people, the right distribution to get him to be so big to the point where he regenerates and his ego is so there, right? As the Doctor, he's just so involved with himself that he even uses one of his regenerations to become himself again, which I really absolutely hated that idea. But I get it. He's a very talented, good guy, good actor. As you said, he can really do all the things, but he's one of those ones I haven't seen a lot of his stuff as Doctor Who I can't really stand Rose personally.
Yeah.
I can't stand a lot of the companions. I cannot stand Donna at all.
She is difficult sometimes, yes.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I would vote Martha out of the three of them, because she's the most balanced.
I like Amy the most.
But out of the Tennant's ones.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But I think Clara's
I don't even know who you're talking about for that one. I don't know who that is, so...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
She's a black doctor, who's actually a doctor.
Ah.
Actually a doctor! Which is nice, because they... Yeah, anyway. Yeah. Spoilers.
was gonna say Tennant's just a little overhyped for me. He's a little bit too on all the lunchboxes.
I think if you
Represents
watched his
Doctor
era
Who.
though, you'd appreciate why. Like, there's a reason.
Oh, I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would. Absolutely.
Because like Tom Baker is obviously overhyped unless you were there watching all the stories and see why, right?
Yeah.
But I get it. And obviously, yes, that is a really salient point. He's the only Doctor to love his face so much he had it 3 times.
Yes.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Right? That's really a thing. Which is why it's a great twist at the end of Matt Smith's like, wait, you're Doctor number 12. Yes, but one of me was me twice, technically. So that was 2 full bodies of energy used in the same day. Shit. That bastard used 2 of me. Which is great. And you realise, oh, actually, yes. He is the last because he used twice. And then War Doctor. Yeah. But
that was a little arrogant, egotistical to do that. So.
But it wasn't because he didn't want to go. It's because he didn't want to... No. Like, there's... and I'm so excited to see why 14's... Because 14 isn't 10. That's the interesting thing. How can Tennant not play 10 again? He's not. He's 14. He's the same character with over 1,000 more years. Because Matt Smith lived a very long time. Capaldi lived a while. Who the hell cares about Jodie? No offense. No. Like different character. How do you go from just after you killed all of your people to the next 1,000 years and now you're me again, but different me? Really interesting. Although he does just feel like David Tennant again in the trailers with stubble. Which I wish they'd just...
I haven't seen the trailer yet, so...
I certainly wish they'd shaved, but I want to look different, right? A stubble Doctor is different than a clean shaven, but he looks much older with stubble because it just adds that dark grey, like dark black grey to his face that makes him look much worse in my opinion.
Yeah,
looks different. That's a good thing. Just okay, cool. Okay, my number 3. We're going to bronze, silver, and gold. Are you ready, Stuart?
Yes.
My number 3 is I'm going to give it to... Going to give the Capaldi what you'd wished to have him higher than Tennant. Because I think Capaldi had some of the better episodes. When he had a good episode, he was astonishingly good in the episode. Like the castle one. Like when he's facing... When he realizes he's in when a copy of him realizes he's in a simulation training an alien race to defeat Earth. That's a really good episode with him in it. Several with Clara are really good. Like, he's a very, very, very good actor. I mean, he has good scripts. He excels. But he's given lots of bad scripts. He has more bad scripts, I think, than probably Smith did. But when he excels. Because he has... And they learned this as they're doing it with him. He can monologue the shit out of monologues. He doesn't need other actors. He can just monologue and it works. No one can do that. So they give him a lot of monologues. There's one episode where he thinks there's a spy inside the TARDIS, changing things, and he spends the entire episode working about universal dimension. And there's a whiteboard, and it turns out he just did it himself and he forgot. Like, it's a really weird episode because it's meant to be, right? But that's him doing monologues just on his whiteboard walking on the TARDIS. Like, he holds attention super, super well. The fact that he as a fan wanted to meet the First Doctor. He wanted the original Cybermen back. He pushed that. That's why they're back. That's great. He made that happen explicitly. I love the fact that he grew his hair. It's like there's another role where you can tell if it's good or not by a look. Long-haired Capaldi versus short-haired Capaldi. He's a grumpy old git in his first season, and he's good with his long hair. Because he's having fun. He's lost that William Hartnell, and he's now got Troughton with some Hartnell. And you can sense a lot of other Doctors in his performance. He's doing a 1,000-year-old guy. He's not doing a fresh character. You can really feel it in his performance. More than Tennant, I think, by a long way. He's an older actor, obviously. He's not running around as much, obviously. He does feel smarter than Tennant. Tennant would grab something and put it together and go, come on, let's go! And Capaldi's not doing that. He's just fixing it and laughing with Clara. There's a lot more cleverness going on. So I think he inhabits more of the characterization, but he's less original. But he's a modern William Hartnell, right, with 1,000 years of brain power. So I think as a Doctor character, I prefer him to Tennant. Although I know Tennant has some better scenes, But just really good episodes, Capaldi, and it pisses me off how many bad stories he got, because that's letting him down as the actor. Pure letting him down. Same with Jodie, right? So yeah.
I just want to jump in and say, guys, we want to hear from you guys. What is your favorite Doctor? Now is your time to super chat in with your favorite Doctor and a reason, or your top 3. Super chat those in. We wouldn't mind getting a few more super chats, obviously. So if you can, please do so. And hit the like button if you haven't done that already. We're at 39, which is pretty good. I mean, maybe we can hit 50.
Help us out.
Yeah. That was your number 3?
It's number 3. Yep. I have all 23. He gets 3. I think just TV evolved around his time to have really well directed movie-like television. And he benefited from that. 10 did not benefit from that for most of his stories. He felt like TV. He gets a movie TV. My number 2, though, is the 5th Doctor. So we're going from a really modern one to a really old one. The Cricket Guy. Now, this is the old hat of your favourite Doctor's your first Doctor, because it's who got you into it. That's always a thing for most people until they say, but then obviously you got Tom Baker and Tennant, and then you got those as well. But he's the first one I ever saw. I was in all his episodes, like 100%. What I like about this Doctor is that he came after Tom Baker, so he had a really hard act to follow. Almost harder than Hartnell, because many people thought the Doctor was dead with Baker. And the fact that he wasn't trying to be Baker, he was a sort of light, refreshing character. He's the youngest actor to play the role. Even though he looks like he's 40, he was like 32 at the time. So he was actually quite fresh feeling. His costume is weird enough to be alien, to be Doctor to me. Even though it's a cricket outfit, but apparently the brief was Edwardian cricket.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's a really fun... He's actually a lot more Hartnell than you think, because he channels a lot of that old man in moments. Because he is old, right? He's able to go from being really fun, let's hang out with my companions, like really like game player fun, and suddenly you, Don, screwed up the universe, companion number 2. I'm going to have a little bit of a yell at you in the first Doctor way, but it's kind of charming still, because he has fun. He has a fun language style. He has his own sort of cadence that's quite interesting, and then shift back into problem solving after like a few seconds and going zipping in. But he's very fallible. He appreciates he doesn't know everything. So there's a lot of moments where he's just like, oh, that's weird. Huh. Fun. Like, he has a lot of those things. He still feels quite young, but with the age of Hartnell. He has some good stories, some good budget. He's the first Doctor, after they introduced it, to lose the sonic screwdriver. So he actually had to think his way out of problems, and they really made that a big point of some of his seasons, to really be a thinker, a smart guy, a fixer. You know he's going to solve your way out of a problem. He also had 3 companions, which was very difficult to manage because they all did stuff, and so that was an odd dynamic that he kind of played with a lot. Really great last episode, Caves of Androzani. Really sad, where he actually died. Because you can die, regenerate, die, or you can die. If you die, your body does weird stuff to regenerate versus just like, oh, I'm dying. Ah. So he had a messed up one, which is why Colin Baker's screwy, because that was a messed up regeneration. But he's just a really nicely balanced Doctor. A lot of fun, a lot of science, a lot of energy, a lot of drama. It's great to see when he interacts with 4 of the Doctors and 5 Doctors, see their contrasts. He interacted with 10 in the special, which he's great in. That was a fun comparison. Came back briefly for the new one, Jodie. He did, and he was really good in that for like one scene. Great. Just a really nicely balanced Doctor without many... Like, he's more vanilla, you could say, but he harnesses a lot of the previous 4 Doctors in a fresh perspective, and that's kind of nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about this one. Sounds like somebody's at the door and Sylvie's not here. Hold on one second.
All right. Hi. It wasn't grumpy enough. Yeah. Yes, Dan. Yeah, he wore the celery to react to radiation. Yes, Dan, exactly. Yeah, Turlo's a really weird companion. less intrusive companion trying to kill the Doctor, who's a bit creepy, a bit young, from the future. Odd choice. But I like Tegan and Nyssa a lot. Really interesting. Well, I like Tegan when she's doing something. And Turlo is very strange.
Very strange. All right, all good.
Yes.
Everything's fine here. Matt Barman, though, $10.
Matt Barman.
Well, not a favorite Doctor. A favorite episode is Vincent and the Doctor. Tony Curran went on to play on Defiance, which I worked on. Got to meet him in person and thank him for that episode.
Oh.
That's cool.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a fun, like, in the middle of everything Doctor. But I think he does a lot of... He's a really nice... I do a bit of all my predecessors while being myself. Isn't that who the Doctor is? He's an amalgam of all the different people he was and will be.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just a new character. He's not just a Tenant. Or he's not... You know what I mean? There's a nice flow to him. Like I say, you might think he's a bit too vanilla. But but I think that makes a lot of sense to who the Doctor is, personally.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know anything about this Doctor Who, so... The other ones I kind of got, like, images of and all that, but this one is the one that... I recognize the look in the lineup of Doctor Who's when you see, like, the lineup, but I don't know anything else about him, so...
He's also an actor who actually regretted leaving after 3. He wished he did a 4th, which is nice. Yeah. Not all the actors wanted that, so...
Yeah.
He liked it quite a lot to play it.
Cool.
Oh, yes, you're number 1!
My number 1 is Matt Smith.
Oh, my God.
He was like my first Doctor Who. It's that old trope. Plus, I love this companion, Amy and Rory. They were great. But he was just, as you put it, like, beautifully when you were talking about him, the 1,000 years of, like, history and life behind the eyes, but that youthful face. And he had such a fun vibrancy about him. But at the same time, he could go dark like that. Like, things got serious, and he could definitely portray that. Plus, I just remember like I said, first Doctor, best memories of it, kind of thing, and eating fish sticks with custard, weird shit after the regeneration, which is something that's just stuck in my head. So yeah, I think and he's also one that he wore a Sherlock Holmes outfit in one of the episodes, which I really appreciated because he makes a pretty good Sherlock Holmes, honestly. So. There's a lot of reasons I like Matt Smith. The fact that he's also gone on to be in a lot of other stuff as well. I think he's a great actor, and he was just so fun to watch as Doctor Who because seemed like a Doctor Who was younger. He felt like he was just enjoying everything until, as you said, shit got dark. Then he really kind of just was scary, almost like somebody you would not want to cross. And I think you're probably right with Moffat. I enjoyed a lot of the Matt Smith stories. I can see why some didn't quite work out, but all of the criticisms of Stephen Moffat's writing and stuff, I never really understood because I really enjoyed the Matt Smith run. But yeah, he is my favorite Doctor, and he is my first Doctor Who. So it's that old cliche, I guess. So you've already said your bit about him, and yeah, I agreed with like everything you were saying. It's
as if I've thought this stuff through, dear me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's you remember, like I said, his first episode is really, really, really good, but then you've got the one I can't imagine it was intentionally this bad, but when the universe breaks and he's got an eye patch and there's some ziggurats and there's trains flying through the sky and he fixed the universe by fuck knows what. Like, it's just a shit episode. Like, it was all these cool ideas just in a shitty package with his terrible long wig. Just Christly bad episode. But then you got the first part of that where the reveal that the character's been introduced with the ponds is actually the River Song, where he tries to kill Hitler. Great episode, right? Really fun.
Yeah.
But it leads into the other. And the twist of Amy being a replicant is a really good twist. But the episode itself isn't very good. It's okay, but it's not great. The one with the vampires in Venice, again, not a very good episode.
Yeah.
God, Angels in Manhattan, terrible. Do you really think that when the angel moves at the end, not one person's watching it? Of course it is. It's fucking Manhattan. Ridiculous. Doesn't make any goddamn sense. But then when they're in the hotel and it's like very claustrophobic and every room's a death trap, really interesting episode. You know, lot of highs and lows with him. And I really like the Pandorica, where, you know, he loses because he's the villain, not really. Like, and then Universe, the two Universe killing episodes, and he's great. The anniversary episode, really good. A lot of highs and lows with him, but he's great. Again, let down by the stories. As often we keep saying, these things are always let down by the scripts. Every actor play the Doctor's been good. The scripts let them down.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just he's my Doctor Who. But yeah.
All right, my number one, Stuart. Do you know who's left?
Well, I already kind of. I was gonna ask if I could guess your number one like 2 guesses ago.
Who's my number one, Stuart?
Paul McGann, 8th Doctor.
Oh my god!
The reason I know that is because you have like a spot-on version of his Doctor Who outfit that you wear to conventions. So as soon as I saw that picture, I'm like, I wonder if that's Sam's favorite Doctor.
Yeah, hard to hide that one.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously this version of Paul McGann. Now, of course, who the hell?
Sorry, I gotta jump in real quick. I have no idea about anything of this guy.
Excellent. Good.
So,
but we've already established you're the reverse connoisseur of Doctor Who.
yes.
So that's fine, right? That's okay. You're Matt Smithian.
Yeah, but if I had watched this guy or seen anything with him in it, maybe I like this one more. I don't know.
Hey, sure. So Paul McGann is a funny old man because he's only in 3 things: a movie, a web episode, and a scene.
Oh, okay. That's why I don't know.
In 25 years of being the Doctor, three things, and obviously for half of his movie, he's playing Doctor with no memory. So he's not even playing the Doctor in theory until the last third. So it's a ridiculous thing to give, but what we're doing is based on performance, right? Otherwise Tom Baker would always win. He's got the most episodes, and Eccleston will always lose. He's got least episodes. If you go on episode count, right, you can't be doing that. Otherwise, that'd be the case. Or number of years played would be Sylvester McCoy technically because he was in the show and the movie. So, you know, it's relative. So Paul McGann is very interesting because he was brought in to be the American not reboot but refresh Doctor in the movie, and they went really elaborate on the sets because they assumed there'd be a TV show from it. So build them first, we'll get them for the TV show. Oh, we don't get the TV show, shit. That's why the sets look really, really good because they invested. Then it didn't work. Well, the console was saved, and a guy has it in England, which is lovely because it's a lovely console, as that is preserved and restored and goes on convention sometimes. In the movie, it was about both he's a fresh character for an American audience, but also because originally they had an American director, American writer, with an English like story creator, and slowly all the American people got replaced by English people. So it is an English-made movie. Just happens to be American company with some American, but it's really an English production, so it's more faithful than you'd think from the American versions. It really is the English version, but made in America. So it's still canon, although they add a weird ignored element that's half human. That's never mentioned again. That's the only thing you can ignore from the movie. Everything else is still canon, fine, which is great. But they do bring back McCoy after 10 years to reprise and die. He's good in it, actually, for his limited screen time, which is lovely. So he's still the full canon. In the episode, though, they had to show these American people who the Doctor is again, make it bigger budget, make it more world cool, make it cinematic, and all of it's achieved quite well, considering the limitations, with great, beautiful TARDIS art design, which invented the TARDIS hanging from the ceiling, going down, which they used in later, so that invented the art design of the TARDIS for later eras. But he's a beautiful combination of, he's kind, he's courageous, he's smart, he's silly, he's bold, he's angry, he's dark, he's cowardly, and he'll save the universe. He does all of that in 3 appearances.
Wow.
So that's how good the writing is and performance is. So all of the traits for the Doctor, you see all of them in him. Like I say, from that scared child that left Gallifrey, to that bold adventurer that saves the universe, to the guy who can heal the world, to the guy who's scared of dying and scared of not saving the universe. All of it comes across in the performance. It's really nuanced for a limited time. And when he came back for the webisode to officially have his regeneration for the 50th anniversary, it is one of the best Doctor Who stories ever made, in my opinion. Not just for him, but just the structure of it is excellent. And it's 5 minutes. And it is phenomenal where this costume came from. And it was a great surprise. I remember watching it at my university halls. No idea he was coming back. Loved him from the movie anyway. And then bam, oh, a new short came out. That's a surprise. Play it. I hear his voice. I'm like... Because there's no whispers of him coming back. And he always said no at conventions. Although now if you go back and watch the interview just before it came out, he's smirking. You can tell behind the eyes. Would you ever come back? I mean, if I was ever asked... And you can see it really, like, it's really funny when you know. But it's a really amazing performance because he is that guy who had the best of all of the classic knowledge as in character, and then the war happened, and he kept the Doctor as long as he could until the universe was so on fire he had to choose to become the War Doctor and kill himself so that he could lose himself and save the galaxy. He was that scared of losing who he was, and then brave enough to kill who he is to save the universe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's some serious cojones. And then when he came back in the Power, the last one, he was so intriguing that in the scene, everyone else is in robes. He's like, I don't do robes. He's that strong a personality. He's like, F it, I'm keeping my costume, right? Which I think is one of the best costumes, hands down. Obviously, that's the one I own. It's just really the best one. Not even close. Yeah. But just, it's amazing how much he put into it. And his voice is fun, his persona's fun. And then he's a Doctor, I think he's a second Doctor to start with audio dramas. In like 90 whatever. And he's done like 250 audio stories. He loves them. He's the biggest proponent. So he's done hundreds of hours, hundreds of stories. He's so into that. So and I've listened to dozens of them, right? I just had a whole time listening to them. So I've heard obviously a lot of him, but even just his limited time. Just, if I was to want a Doctor to summarise who that character is, this character, it's this version. He does all of the things in his short screen time, and it is shockingly horrible that he didn't get more episodes. And he is looking a lot older now than he did. This 10 years ago anniversary, he looked phenomenal still. Now he looks quite old. I mean, obviously, long since dyed his hair, the wrinkles are coming in. He doesn't quite look the same. He did okay, but he looks old. Doesn't look the same. He can still do the role. He does it audiobook all the time. But it's a massive, they should have given him a separate web series along with the main show. But if he'd done that, like same time as Jodie had it, he would have shown her up, right? Like the quality difference is just radical between him and Jodie. But yeah, okay, sorry I rambled obviously, but what do you think about my justification and my points there? Or my sell, I should say.
I'm sold. I love the whole cowardly, yet angry, yet brave, yet... I gotta see this guy now. So, yeah. I know nothing about him, so it's very interesting. And yeah, I trust you. I do trust your opinion on things, so there you go. It's got to be good for a reason, right?
Yes.
For to be your number one, yeah. It's a thing.
Yeah. And I've met him. He's also a nice guy. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they're actually all nice people. I like them all that I've met. And it's funny. I told the story before, but I'll say it right at the end of this. Went to the Doctor Who exhibition in Cardiff, and I was in they had sort of 2 TARDISes as part of this little adventure play thing. And I was in the full costume because why not? Well, I forgot the bloody belt, so I wasn't actually in full. Like of all the things, I forgot the goddamn belt because it's quite specific. It all is. And I was doing it, and then right as we leave in this TARDIS to go to the museum bit, a person who works there just taps me on the shoulder and says, "Okay, hi, come with me," and they pull me across the whole entire museum to his costume, the one of costume that he wore in the one episode. Said stand
Make sure
there,
you didn't steal it because it's so accurate.
and he said stand next to it, and like, that's almost perfect. I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, they were that impressed, they made me go and compare, which is fun. Like, that was a fun feeling to do, and I, you know, the only thing I got wrong is a jacket, because it's a very obviously unique jacket, and mine's black and about 1/10 less short. I could tell it was green on screen, but it's a very dark episode. It looked black unless you can tell in the hues. I can get a green one now. It's been made, but it's like $700, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, especially as my jacket's actually 120 years old. It's a genuine Victorian. It's falling apart, but I mean, it's the right style and almost the right shape, so I'm very close.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes.
I think it was funny. He stole the jacket. Grab him. Or he stole the outfit. Grab him.
Yeah.
No, it's still here. Ah. Shit.
Yeah.
I've seen that picture of you multiple times, and so when I saw that, I'm like, because that's the same pose you have in your picture too, pretty much, like bang on. So I was like, that's probably his number one. And as the countdown was going down, once we are getting near the end, I'm like I wanted to guess what your number one was, but anyway,
pretty much. But
there you
but
have it.
hopefully I justified why.
Hypno Amber says, Sam, we need pics, please. Got a picture of it?
Yeah. Well, I can find the old one of me. Because I have it on an old website. I did.
Guys, hit that like button. 6 more likes, get to 50. And any super chats to close out would be awesome. I gotta say, your passion for Doctor Who and your knowledge has been amazing in these last 2 hours. So much so that I'm super hyped to go watch Doctor Who now.
But
Again.
maybe with some curation though. Curation. Help you go through it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm thinking now I just want to look on YouTube to see if there's a Doctor Who documentary I can watch, because I'd love to learn more about the history of it and behind the scenes.
Well, it's very...
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's very... I mean, it changes every era, right? That's the whole...
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Oh. Turn that off. Okay, so this is me in the costume. Me from university, so I'm 10 years younger. And it's funny because I had the most insane luck with this, because almost everything is genuine era. The belt and the gaiters are actually from World War One, so they are literally the correct things. So they're from they're the same things that they had. I'm actually I've improved my shirt since. That's a dress shirt. I now have a correct style from the same period, and the waistcoat's pretty damn close. But I was very lucky, and I was at university, and you know, you only have so much money to live. And I spent most of a segment of that on this costume because I just had to get everything. It was a problem, but you couldn't get this. You can't replicate it without having the real pieces now. So I obviously, I'm glad I did, although it made that term very difficult for me because I spent most of my money. eBay, man. That's the official comparison picture. What do you think?
It's fucking amazing. I didn't realize your jacket was shorter.
Yeah.
It was almost the exact same pose with the white background, and I was like, yeah, I've seen that picture of Sam often. So, yeah, very impressed.
Oh, it's funny when I did this originally, you start to notice what they did to the picture, because that isn't Paul McGann, that's Paul McGann plus Photoshop.
Well, of course.
So the only way to match the picture was to do what they did. So I've also messed up the colours of my skin tone, which changes the colours of the brown, which is why our browns are the same. So I reverse engineered what they did.
Nice.
Which I think is fair because they have clearly photoshopped his. He's not that grey and dirty, right? So it's a trick, but it's a what they did trick. That's why everything hue-wise is extremely so close. Although my shoes in that are so damaged with age, because they weren't very good. They were style over quality. That they are so broken that they kind of work better as a costume piece now, because his costume was kind of meant to be dying. It's actually more accurate now in a sense that they're basically trash. I really need new ones, but I never wear it. I don't wear it that much, so I know how to find the exact right, because they've got to fit underneath gaiters, which are very, very specific.
Well, Mark Lawrence throws in $2. Says, does Cap know why 7 regenerates to 8?
Does Cap or does Sam?
Is there an insider Doctor Who joke there that I don't know?
I don't know, but 7 to 8 is the movie one. So they had to.
Do you?
Well, they didn't have to, but they introduced it as a thing. Now I have my other shot of me from the anniversary that I replicated, but I might be able to find that quick enough.
So Hypno was telling me there's a great breakdown channel for all the doctors. I can't even read it because it's behind the stupid heart emoji. Channel is Clever Dick Films.
Oh, I think I've heard of that. They're quite good breakdowns. They do every era, and it's a combination of behind the scenes and narrative, and here's one I'm thinking of. They're quite clever. But I mean, it's huge spoilers, obviously.
It was a Welcome to America movement, if you ever had one.
Okay, yeah. He got America'd, and he did not survive.
Nice.
That is true. Can you say that?
All right, guys, we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Gosh.
So I think we'll wrap it there. But thank you, Sam, for that history lesson on Doctor Who. Much appreciated.
Hopefully I kept it interesting.
You did. Absolutely, you did. I was going, this is going to, I don't know what to say, but you have the knowledge, so it was great.
And just so you can see it, this was him when he came back the last time. I mean, the third time ever, where he's in this scene with 3 other doctors for the anniversary special, and he's the only one that isn't in a red robe. So he comes back in full costume, and that's how he looks like a year ago.
Oh yeah, much older.
Yeah, much older, and obviously without the hair longer, because his original wig was very curly, and then he obviously grew his hair to play a young, but then if it's short, it looks kind of like old man thin. You kind of need that curl, but yeah, he looks significantly older, and the costume looks black now, which is weird. That I think looks well. He lost the suede trousers, but the jacket looks more like mine. I mean, I can see the differences, right? It's not the same, which is weird because the one exists. But yeah, he looks a lot older than 10 years ago. He's allowed to, 60s to or 50s to whatever. He's older than you'd think.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go make food, so
yeah.
I think we'll call it there. Thank you to everybody that watched. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, 63.
No, that's not that old.
But considering how he looks, like he's staying that, holding on to not 63 as long as he can. Because when our parents looked 60, which my nan does, it's like they don't look that, like 60 doesn't look like how it did in the old days. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we'll call it there. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys later. So until the next time you see us, he is Dr. Sam.
And he is
Beckett.
Companion Stuart Clara Oswald II. So she went into you see. What a change. Wow, what
That's my old form.
What an upgrade.